Hey, welcome to North Idaho Experience. In today's episode, Dave and I sit down with Tim Henry. He's the man that built this beautiful table in front of us. He also just opened Frontline CrossFit in Post Falls, and he is a deeply passionate about bringing community together. So his gym caters to first responders and veterans and the public, of course, but definitely check them out. He also has a weekly or bi-weekly Ruck to Rize, where he does rucks out in the parks here around Coeur d'Alene and Post Falls. Absolutely stellar human being, and we are lucky to have him here with us in North Idaho. So enjoy the conversation, and if you are looking for a gym community or a church community or a rucking community, he is your guy. His contact info will be in the show notes. Enjoy. Hey, Tim.
Hey.
Thank you. I'm glad you're here, bro.
Oh, thanks. Always love being here.
Yeah, second time.
In the new space.
In the new space. This is actually the first podcast that we have done in the new space.
Oh.
You are breaking it in, bro, because you are the one that built this beautiful table for us.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
It was quite the project.
This thing is enormous. For those watching, it is a two slabs of walnut, right?
Yeah, book matched.
Book matched. You did a beautiful job with it, then used a router, and you created this awesome inlay on it that mirrors. Someone pointed this out the other day. It's not quite a mirror, but
it's perfect.
It looks like it mirrors the sign on the wall. It's freaking rad. This turned out really good. I'm very stoked.
So, and I have questions about it. Well, you said it was book matched. What does that mean?
So when the sawyers cut the tree down and they slabbed it out, so that it was probably like a good 4 to 5 inch chunk. Then they put it on a large bandsaw, and then what they do is, since it's sitting like this and they cut through it, they open it up like a book.
I fucking knew it. I could have sounded smart. I knew that's what it was, and I wasn't sure. I wasn't going to do it and have somebody laugh at me, but
No
that's
one's
cool.
going to laugh at you.
Is that why? I mean, that's why this grain is straight down the middle, because that's exactly.
Yeah,
how it
and
was.
if you look at certain features on each side, you could see how
like
if
these
you
two
were
knots.
to fold it, they would line up.
Yeah.
I don't know how this thing weighs like 300 pounds, first of all.
Yes.
It's a good over 1.5 inches thick.
Yes.
It's freaking unreal, dude.
Yep.
And
So
it's
that's
super
how I
solid.
get all of my service-connected injuries, is dealing with these tables by myself.
Oh, man.
No,
I
it's
know
super
for a fact
cool.
that you can stand on it, too, and it will hold your weight.
Oh, yeah,
I know
for
that
sure.
a fact.
Yep.
I've been getting super finicky with it. People bring stuff in, and I'm like laying things on it to like keep it covered.
Yes.
I don't want
Yeah.
scratch,
Yes.
nothing.
Oh, it's true. I mean, it's the same, like I've built a couple of these dining room tables, or this is the first, one intended for a podcast studio, but I tell all the owners, do you want the wood feel? Because the wood's very expensive, and then I've had customers like, oh, just cover it in epoxy. And I'm like, no, I don't do that.
Yes.
Go call somebody else.
That's cool.
I want to feel the grain.
Yeah, you can feel all the wood. It requires a little bit more TLC, and like you said, you have to, be cautious of what you do to it. But the best thing about it, from like a family perspective and a family of all of you guys, is it's much easier to repair now because there's nothing on it. It's literally just citrus oil and walnut.
That's cool.
There's no
So when
coating.
Big John scratches it or does something silly, we can fix it.
How do you do the inlay? How does this work?
With a router. So I have a small hobby CNC in my garage, and this table's actually too big for the CNC that I have. So I had to actually cut this into 3 pieces that you can't even tell that it was
What?
3 pieces. Yeah.
Which way? Against the grain or with the grain?
With the grain. So I cut it this way, I cut it over there, and then I put the middle of the table into my CNC.
Got it.
And did the routing, and then very nervously pulled everything out and slapped it all back together.
I would freak out doing the routing.
Oh, the
because
routing
there's
is
no going back.
No,
dude.
that's the most nail-biting part, because you're like, well, if the technology decides not to work.
Right. And there's so much detail in this tree. I mean, it's incredibly detailed.
And then what's put in here?
Just some black epoxy.
That's it.
Yep.
Wow. How deep is it?
I think it's a 1/4 inch.
Wow. That is super cool.
Let's scratch it and find out.
Yeah. Yeah, get your knife out.
That's
Let's go.
crazy, man. Well, we appreciate it. This thing is awesome.
You know what I love about it? And this was a big beef I had with the previous table, is it was really thin. It was a crappy Amazon table. Is people like to tap their hands on the table. And this is much less echoey because it's just so dense.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then everybody wants to molest it as well.
Yeah.
Because
I caught Dave in here the other day, just
Right.
laying on it.
That's what they do. Yeah.
Very weird.
Well, firemen, calendars, they're used to it.
Oh, okay. So you bring that up. Let's talk about it. I think we're going to do a calendar next year.
Oh, dude.
Perfect. And just
I think we're going to do a calendar, and we're going to have things like Seth dressed up as a fireman. We'll have me dressed up as CHP. We'll do a lot of fun stuff.
Is it going to be inappropriate or appropriate?
I think we need to have Sasquatch in the photo somewhere.
Yeah.
like
each one?
Yeah,
Like
like
a
each
little
one.
Easter
He's
egg?
like, yeah,
like a Where's Waldo?
Right.
In the background somewhere?
Yeah.
That's a great idea.
I think it'd be good.
I mean, we got the team for it.
Yeah.
Maybe not you and me, but we got some studs on the team.
Right.
Not Eric for sure.
So we're just talking about John.
Yeah, just John and Austin.
Can
really.
John
So-
fit on
Like
the
Mariah.
table if he lays down?
Mariah, well, she's pregnant, so I don't know.
Yeah.
I throw it off a little bit. But
Wow.
No, there's
What?
there's people that have things out there. Yeah.
Oh, God.
Where are we going with this?
And then-
we're going to
and
make a calendar, and
Yeah.
it's going to be a bunch of John and Sasquatch.
And,
So,
then, and then the following year, we're going to do a feet-only calendar, okay?
that would be so gross. Like you gotta. We have 12 of us.
Yeah.
You have to pick each month whose feet you think they are.
John's will be easy to spot. He's size 18.
We could actually do both. You could do a picture of feet on like the bottom left of each month. You have the main calendar, and then you have the feet on the bottom, and then you have to figure out who it is.
I like this guy. I like this idea.
I like it too.
I shave my feet, so that's going to throw people off a little bit because they're going to be looking for hairy toes. I am not afraid to admit this.
Yeah.
I think it's disgusting.
My
to
wife
have hairy
doesn't. She
feet.
has the hairiest feet ever.
No, stop it. Your
I'm
wife's
trying to
so
set
nice
this
to
up so people don't know.
Oh,
Yeah.
I see.
Oh,
I see. You're
okay.
spreading misinformation.
All right.
Misdirection.
So really, thank you for this table, and I'm glad you were the first guest on the podcast since we have the new studio. Because
Absolutely.
yeah, we're loving this new space. We are in downtown Coeur d'Alene right now, right on Sherman and 4th. So if you're in the area, swing by and say hi. We'd love to show off the studio. We've got our patch board. You can't see it on the camera, but we've got a huge coin board back there with all our challenge coins. So if you're in the area and you are former public safety or military, bring us a patch. You can put it on the patch wall yourself. We'd happy to have you guys do that.
We would love it. That'd be cool.
Very
It's a big group of people that have come up here and given us all sorts of stuff. A lot of our patches are up there, so it'd be nice to have some.
I love that.
I fill it up.
Yeah. We are here to talk about your gym now.
Yeah,
Yeah, that is, you just opened this 2.5 weeks ago.
that's correct. We opened February 27th was our opening day.
Okay. So for people that have not seen Tim on the podcast, he's been on previously. Former Air Force. I got it right this time.
Yeah,
I
you
kept saying
did.
Army,
So
I don't
proud
know.
of you.
It's because you're I hate to say this. I know a lot of guys in the Air Force, but you're like from the cooler side of the Air Force.
That's true.
Lesser
Yeah,
known.
That's
What'd
true.
you do?
I was seer.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So he would torture people in the woods,
Yeah.
basically.
I love it.
Yeah.
That's what they say.
Allegedly.
Right.
Right. Yeah. That's classified.
Okay.
Yeah. So, and then I'm just going on your own story here. Obviously,
Yeah.
you can tell it. But you're on deployment. You were injured in an IED explosion, correct?
Yeah, in 09.
Okay. And then that messed you up pretty bad.
Yeah.
CrossFit is what saved you.
Yeah, eventually. I didn't find CrossFit right away. I didn't find CrossFit until after I was medically retired in 2017.
Okay.
Yeah, I went down the dark spiral that a lot of vets and first responders go through, when you lose like your purpose and, just the regiment and the brotherhood, you lose all of that. I found it again in a CrossFit gym. Mm-hmm. It was just one of the things my daughter, my oldest daughter just was like, Dad, I want you to get healthy again. I missed it when you were healthy. And I was like, okay, my kid's telling me to do this. I guess I should, stop watching TV. And I walked into a CrossFit gym after one of my surgeries. A couple of gyms told me, no, you got to wait until you're better to come back, liability, this, that, and the other. And I went into a CrossFit gym in Spokane, and I had an arm in a sling, just had a surgery, and they're like, does your other arm work? And I'm like, yeah. They're like, go hop on that bike over there. Hold yourself up. Sit there. I was biking, and then I was like rowing with one arm, and they had me doing stuff with dumbbell, and they were very welcoming, and they were just like, yep, okay, you can't do this, so do this instead.
That's cool.
And I was still gassed and dying because I was out of shape and everything.
Yeah.
And they didn't boot me out, and the owner was literally sending me workouts to do at home, before I even paid for a membership.
It's one of those things at CrossFit, and you talk about it has a community to where, a lot of people talk shit on CrossFit, right?
Yeah.
Oh, dude, we got a CrossFit guys, whole CrossFit freaking podcast now. We'll have a vegan one next.
Yeah.
So, but the truth is that working out, you can go work out on your own and everything else, but it takes a lot of mental capacity to do stuff on your own. And when you have a team of people, that you have a community that you work with, it makes it a lot of fun. And the cool thing is I love the story about the fact you went in there and one arm's not working, because that's been my experience with a lot of CrossFit, is that you go in there and people get really nervous because you see the CrossFit games and you see this extreme lifting where you're like, well, I don't want to go deadlift 400 pounds.
Yeah.
But you can modify it. And when you go into a good gym, you have a good owner. I'm guessing you're going to be doing the same, is that you allow people to figure out where they want to go with their fitness.
Yeah, absolutely.
And you still keep it fun and keep them part of the community.
Yeah. Yeah. We're, in our gym, in Frontline CrossFit, everyone's welcome to come in. And that's kind of one of the great things, and I don't know how to say this, appropriately, but like with the path that I've come from, the military, the injuries, the depression, PTSD, and then, being disabled with 2 spinal cord injuries. So it's like, I know what it's like to have to scale and to modify workouts. And I can't, Seth and I were just talking about, my head coach is 23 years old. He crushes me at everything, but I'm there like chasing him because it's just great motivation. And then, when I'm having my moments like where I'm down and my leg is shaking and, I'm about to puke, people will come check on me. They'll be like, do you need your inhaler? Are you all right? But don't stop. Keep going. Right. Because they know you can, you have to just push past that mental barrier. And I hear all the voices yelling at me, hey, that's not going to pick itself up. I was like, yeah, I get it. There's a lot of mean things I want to say in those moments, but I know it's all coming from a good place, when they're trying to push you. But having the experience that I have had in my CrossFit journey, my health journey, I believe that's really going to help us out at the gym, because I'm not going to turn anybody away. I mean, it's funny when people come in the gym and I'm giving them like a tour and they're like, well, I can't do this because I have a bad back. And I'm like, okay. I understand that.
Let me tell you about a bad back.
Yeah, right. Yeah. I'm like,
overcoming objections. Even in our job, everything, it's always one of those things. Well, Mike, when somebody says that, I go, well, let me ask you a question. Do you want to do it?
Right.
You do? Okay. Well, then you can do it.
Yeah, exactly.
We can help you with that.
And that's just what we have to kind of, break that initial barrier down, because, you're 100% right about CrossFit has a bad rep. Everybody watches the CrossFit games, and that's the 0.1 of the 0.1%.
Right.
That it's literally the top 20 to 40 fittest people in the world that are going to the games. And they're doing stuff that is just amazing and crazy and stuff that, is usually beyond most people, the average person. But that's not where we're trying to go, is we're trying to use that functional fitness to be better hunters,
right?
Be better first responders, be better husbands, better fathers. It's all of that stuff. It's funny because I have, again, just telling Seth about a guy that's like, well, I'm an elk hunter, and if this isn't going to make me better at elk hunting, I'm not interested. And I'm like, literally everything we do in here will make you better at elk hunting.
Yes. Yeah.
We carry weight, varied intensities, and times and domains. And it's just like your legs, your lungs, your arms.
Yeah.
Everything will get easier.
You know what you talked about when we first started, you're in the Air Force for how many years?
18 years.
18 years. Okay. So you developed a little bit of an identity.
Oh yeah, for sure.
I know we did too.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And you develop that identity, and you have a tendency, and you've been through it. I think a lot of people end up with, PTS or PTSD or any of those. And you talk about that identity crisis, right? We talk about it all the time. I think that there is, to keep it in CrossFit, there is an identity crisis that I know that people like me, I go through it. I used to look at myself. I think if you went back to people that knew me 10 years ago, I'd be like, Dave's one hell of an athlete, right? Like, I mean, you could tell me the next day, hey, you want to run a marathon? I'm like, I'm in. And I would go in and I would place. I would go and do these things, even CrossFit. I mean, I was always that guy to challenge things. I'm not that same person anymore.
Sure.
And I think I'm still at that portion in my life where I am having that identity crisis, to where when I go to CrossFit, I have an ego.
Yeah.
I go in there and I see somebody do 400 pounds and I'm like, yeah, I can do that. And I can. But I don't feel the same tomorrow. And it's not the same thing. So I think that it's good that you have that, that background in both the identity thing with the Air Force and also understanding that like you don't have to come in and be the CrossFit Games guy.
Correct.
And I think if you can create an environment where people come in and they don't have the ego to come in and say, man, I got to go one more, and maybe say, maybe you don't.
Right.
Maybe we just get through the workout, man.
Yeah.
Especially in your mid 40s, right? We have jobs. You probably have guys that are blue collar workers that need to show up every day.
Yeah.
I'm early 40s.
Okay,
I'm not mid 40s yet.
We are.
Yeah, we are.
Do you see my identity crisis?
Youngster.
We're past the mid 40s. We're closer to 50 than I am to 40.
I don't want to deal with injuries anymore. I don't want to risk it. So it's nice to be able to know that limit and tone yourself back. And we were talking about this right before we jumped on the podcast, and you mentioned it, Dave, is because I was like, hey, Tim's like, when are you coming in? And I was like, well, I'm building a gym in my house. And he brought up a good point, right? I'm never going to push myself as hard. Not that I need to go to an extreme, but I'm never going to try as hard as when I have dudes next to me and women that are pushing themselves. Like I'm going to be looking and being like, yeah, there's a little bit of ego, right?
Yep.
Yeah. It comes into play, and it's going to push me to make myself better.
Yeah, you're going to walk out in your garage. It's going to be cold.
Yes.
You're going to blast some Creed.
Damn you.
And
get out of my head, sir.
And you're going to be benching and doing arm curls, and that's it. That's all you're gonna do.
That's pretty much set.
Yeah,
man, that's
some
easy.
deadlifts, maybe a squat here and there on a good day.
Okay, just to clear the air, we talked about Creed. Is this a Nickelback safe environment or
I don't know.
I'm
down. I'm down.
No.
I've been at some fire stations where I'm like almost an outcast, and other ones are like, yeah, bro, I'm in. I like that.
There's some good shit there.
Yeah, they have a couple.
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah.
But no, you're absolutely right. Like that community is important. It's the same. Like we both do jiu-jitsu, right? Yeah. Having that community, other people to push you, it does everything, and it squashes your ego when you do have a big ego. Because there's always somebody better. There's always that 23-year-old dude that's going to crush you, and you can never keep up. That's okay.
Yeah, it's a great thing. It's a great thing having the pressure of the other people, but it's not just pressure, because pressure can sometimes be negative. It's the accountability. Like when I first started CrossFit, I was like, oh, this is kind of weird. Like I went in a couple times and then I was sore. I hadn't worked out in a long time. So I took a couple days off. I was getting text messages from people at the gym. Are you okay? Where are you at? When are we going to see you again?
Right.
And I was like, this is weird. Stop calling me.
What do you want from me?
Yeah.
But that's kind of, you bring up the accountability. I think that's something so unique to North Idaho. The small communities, I don't want to call them cliques, but the small communities, whatever it is, right?
Yeah.
Like that's the way I look at church too. Like when you go to church, if you go to a big church, not dissing a big church, but there's not as much accountability because when you're not there, a lot of people don't notice.
You're kind of lost in the crowd. Yeah.
Correct. And, I go to a smaller church and I dig that. And I think that it's a good thing for us in our jobs, in our friendships, in working out, and the things that are important, right? Keep you healthy, your faith, all that stuff, to have that accountability because that's where you grow.
Yeah.
You don't hold yourself as accountable as other people will.
Well, and that's what, like us older guys, we talk about all the time, like the community, the bring it back to like the 80s and 90s when you rode your bike down the street and you looked for friends.
Yeah.
And it's like the joke about vegans and CrossFitters. How do you know someone's a CrossFitter? Wait 5 minutes and they'll tell you about it. And same thing with vegans, that's how you know. But like with the CrossFit community, the accountability is there. People genuinely, if you're in the right gym, they genuinely care about you. We have potlucks, at the gym. We had the last 3 weeks, we had a Friday, we had potlucks, people brought in, kids are running around.
Did anybody bring donuts?
No donuts. Okay, no.
Have you tried Lantern Donuts?
I have not.
You might want to.
They're
Those
delicious.
are actually, they're not just delicious. They're like, what do you say? They're like a
they fry
Michelin
them in coconut oil.
A Michelin 5-star chef that's making these things.
Yeah,
I took a bite out of it. They would be welcome at a CrossFit
There's
gym.
another donut place on Barker, right outside of Liberty Lake. I think it's called Rize. They use beef tallow for their donuts.
Dude.
Wow.
And they're pretty
much
delicious.
healthy at
I
that
mean, so
point.
I've heard. I've never been there, and I would never eat one, of course. But
no.
I was just telling you, cops
just
and
in
all,
case we
donuts.
wanted to go there. Sure. Yeah. So Frontline CrossFit, that is the name of your gym. You opened 2.5 weeks ago. You have a
Yes.
very cool space. Our team is going there next week to do a team workout.
Are we?
Yeah.
All right.
He's going to crush us.
You will die.
Let's
go.
Looking forward to dying. So
Any hints?
I can't wait to see the space.
Any hints?
Just be
No.
good. Just be better. Whatever it is, be better.
Yeah.
I can't wait to see the space because you got a beautiful space that you moved right into. I know you did a lot of upgrades.
Yeah, we got lucky. We've been this journey kind of started last fall. I was at a different gym, and then just the direction they were going. They were not a CrossFit gym. Just the direction they were going kind of just went against my values and what I was standing for, what I still stand for. And I was like, okay, I was a volunteer there. So I was just like, hey, I'm done. Here's my keys. And then I talked to my wife about it, and we were just like, yeah, let's, because I've been talking about opening up my own gym for 10 plus years, and, wanted something for first responders that I wanted that brotherhood, like I had crazy ideas of making it like a base, like a compound, like literally barbed wire all the way around.
So if you want to get firefighters, you need a lot of recliners.
Right. Yes.
And a professional kitchen, all that shit. So that can add up.
Yeah.
But everybody else, that would
They'll
work.
be outside though.
Choosing violence?
Yeah. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
While I sit here by your turnout
Let's
like a
go,
weirdo. Yeah, it's creepy.
Oh, I thought that was yours.
No. Yeah.
He tries them on from
I'm
time
still
to time.
firmly heterosexual, so I haven't gone there yet.
I'm 49%.
Oh, well, that's still the majority, I guess.
So you guys have been open for 2 weeks. Tell us about your facility in terms of where's it at, by the way?
Yeah, we're at 6020 East Commerce Loop in Post Falls.
Okay.
We're the only CrossFit gym in Post Falls.
Oh.
We're affiliated with headquarters CrossFit. So with that comes a little bit of like control. They check all of our insurance, make sure we're good. They apply a little bit of kind of rules to us to make sure we're applying quality of training. Basically it's just kind of we're representing their brand as an affiliate, so they want to make sure that we're providing a quality product. All of our coaches have to be a certain certification, and we have like size limits on our class so that there's quality instruction from coaches where, so yeah, it's not too bad, but also it's just, being a part of it's tough to say I want to be a part of the CrossFit community if I'm not going to give in and pay into the CrossFit community as well, because the money from the affiliates goes in to help pay for a lot of programming. It pays for seminars. It pays for some of the CrossFit games that you see of the crazy athletes. It goes to help that system out. So it's just one of those things where, you kind of buy into it and to be a part of the community. And I think also it's like just brand recognition, because at first I was going to just open up a fitness, place. Mm-hmm. And then one of my buddies was like, yeah, but what is fitness? That's pretty vague if you just throw fitness on your sign. It could be anything. It could be like a strongman gym. It could be a powerlifting gym. It could be like a Planet Fitness. And I was like, that's a good point. And then, my wife's like, well, we love CrossFit. We might as well just pay. And it's expensive, but they've actually been pretty helpful for a new business. They send you like business models, help you establish your business plan. They kind of guide and mentor you through some of the process. They check your location to make sure you're not too close to other places. So there was a lot of mentoring and, quality control in the beginning. And they still offer seminars and a lot of help and assistance. You just can reach out to them if you need help or have questions with what's going on, because they want all of the affiliates to succeed.
Yeah. What's your facility look like?
It looks like, well, what do you mean?
I mean, you get, was it 6,000 square?
Yeah, it's a 6,000 square foot facility. It's completely, one of the things that was really important to me was being completely ADA compliant. We have ADA showers. We have 4 bathrooms. We have 2 showers for the ladies, 2 showers for men. We also have a kid room. We're very family oriented. We want the kids to be there, and we have measures in place to keep them safe. And it's more of an active room. Like we don't have TV in there.
Good.
We have a climbing wall with a big, thick padded floor. We have Legos. We have toys. Things for them to do. Crayons, table, color. So we want them to be, active in something. We also offer a kids class, because Post Falls kids don't have school on Fridays. So we have kids that come in on Friday, and, you know, kind of depends on the age and the skill level. We kind of cater it to them, get them moving, get them active. But then we always finish with like a fun game.
Excuse me.
You know, because some of them by the end, 30 minutes in, that attention starts to go.
Yeah.
You know, they're like, I'm sick of this. I don't want to do any more air squats or burpees.
Is that an option for us next week? Or the way our brains are on this team?
We might have to start you with the kids programming, but then we'll
Seems fair.
Yeah, as you warm up, because we're all so old, you know, as you warm up, then we'll get into the more advanced stuff.
I stretched last week, so I'm
Hey, good for you, dude.
pretty much ready.
Nice.
Yeah, a week ago. Yeah, you should actually show up tonight on Thursdays. We have a program we're calling it Fortify, where just the 6 o'clock class on Thursdays, kind of everybody's mostly out of work by then. We do 30 minutes of cardio, and then it's 30 minutes of stretching.
That's actually really good for us.
That
Yeah.
is great.
So get the heart rate up, get
Yeah.
the muscles loose,
Sounds like
and
a lot
then
of
we
work.
just kind of sit in like a school circle, you know, and
Yeah.
stretch and relax. And
That would help me so much with jits if I would just learn to stretch. I really would.
I've been telling myself that for 15 years that I'm gonna do this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's kind of like when you go to the dentist and they're
Yeah.
like, yeah, you got to floss. And you're like, okay,
Yeah.
got it.
Yeah. Check.
Yeah.
It's so much time.
Yeah.
I sit my fat ass on the couch and watch TV, and I'm like, and as I'm sitting there, I'm like, I should sit on the floor and I should stretch right now. And I
While
think
you're
about that
watching
for
TV.
45 minutes until we're done with our show, and I'm like, I'm going to go to bed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll do it tomorrow.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. Just put it off.
Tomorrow's my day.
You'll do it in your home gym.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I gotta get back on the train.
So
this
I
weekend.
am gonna have jujitsu mats. So I feel like it will be conducive for stretching because I
Well-
can just lay on the mats. But in reality, I'll probably lay on the mats.
Yeah.
And be like, this feels really good. Just lay here.
No,
I'll do
don't let him tease you with that. He's the type of guy where he's like, all right, come over. We're gonna throw a gun down in the middle,
100%.
and we're gonna start on either side. And we're gonna see who can get it. That's gonna be.
But
It's gonna be
our-
one of those you go from 0 to 100 and be like, all right, now we're fully fighting.
And everybody's hurt.
Trying
Yeah.
to get this. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's where we're gonna go. Thank
The
you.
question is, knowing you two, is how much clothing is being worn during this
Oh, I mean,
situation?
yeah.
It
it's
will
the-
start with a lot, but could get torn off. We don't know. We'll see. Does that sound weird?
That sounds weird.
No, it's fine. It only sounds weird to people that don't know you.
Right. No, if this is like the first podcast, and we're like, these guys are talking about tearing each other's clothes off. That's weird.
And we're done.
I know. Okay.
So is there an option for people like you said, if somebody wants to just come in and ride the bike, is that
Yeah,
Is
yeah,
that doable?
absolutely. We have, so to kind of cover the options, I guess, that we have in the memberships and stuff. So we have an unlimited membership, which is exactly what it sounds like. You can come in 5 times a day if you want. You can attend any class. There's no limit, hence the name, unlimited. We have open gym option where we have about 5 hours a day right now of if somebody doesn't want to do a class, but they want to come ride a bike, or they want to roll out our mats and do some jujitsu stretching and warming up on it, then we have an open gym option. So you can just come in and use all of our equipment, and there's no coach telling you what to do. So if you are self-motivated, that might be a really good option for you. So you can come in for open gym. We have punch cards if you kind of just want to check it out and try it. Or if you already know your schedule, you're like, I'm only going to come in like once a week. Then the unlimited option doesn't make any sense. So we have cheaper options where you just get a punch card, and as that punches away over time, and the punch card's good for a year.
Oh, cool.
So if you bought like a 10 class punch card, you have an entirety year to use that. So if you came in, once a month, that almost gets you through the year.
Right.
We have that option. We also, like I said, we also have kids. We have kids prices. And then, let's see what else
For
is there.
people
Do you-
that
do you
are
have- go ahead.
for people that are reluctant to get into it, do you offer like a trial class where they can come in and feel it out?
Yeah, we have, we just call it a drop-in. So it's $25 and you show up for a class, and we kind of get a background, we kind of do like a quick little interview. Hey, what's your fitness level like? How often do you work out? When was the last time you worked out? And then, one of the great things about what we do being a guided, coached class is that we help scale. We modify the workout. If you're injured, or just your fitness level is not there, maybe you're a little overweight,
Why'd you look at Dave when you said that?
don't worry about that. You're not
I
supposed to
noticed
say
a
that.
subtle glance. I'm just reading the room, dude.
Don't call me out.
Just reading the room.
so we just modify everything, you know, and that goes for ages. I mean, we have a guy in his 60s. He's a retired Navy commander, and he's in charge at the, I believe it's anesthesia at the VA now.
Oh, I know who that is.
Yes, you do know who that is. That guy runs faster than the majority of our athletes at the gym.
Wow.
So like age isn't necessarily a thing. We have people that are overweight, you know, but they've lost 70 pounds, you know, and they followed me from the last gym that I was at. And now they're going to, you know, to Frontline, and they're just continuing their fitness journey. So, you know, it looks different for all of us.
You know, that I'm so impressed with people that I mean, you say like having people that are overweight.
Yeah.
Dude, I've learned, there's a guy that goes to Hayden Peak, and he's probably lost literally 200 pounds. And sometimes, you know, you see people like that, and you walk in and you see people on a treadmill walking and they're overweight, and you base assumptions and everything else. But I'll tell you what, people like that, the mental clarity that you have to have and the things you have to overcome to come into a gym when, honestly, in CrossFit, you go in there's a lot of fit people in there. Right. There's very few overweight people. To be that person that comes into a gym and goes, I'm going to get in shape. Holy crap.
I will cheer that. I have caught myself in the past, like judging people, right?
Sure.
Yeah.
I have switched that mindset. And
It's
now
motivating.
I see the chubby person running down the side of the road, and I'm like, good for you. Because
Right.
I know
Dude.
it is hard to come back from that.
And you look at
Good for you.
Yeah, those people are freaking amazing, dude.
Yeah.
And you see them get fit, and you're like, God dang, like I want half that motivation.
The hardest thing is to step in that door the first time. Same with jujitsu. Like
Yep.
anybody that comes into a jujitsu class, because it's very intimidating.
Yeah.
You know, the moment they step in the door, I'm like, good for you. Like,
Yeah.
whether they stick around or not, that was the hardest thing they will do, is to get in the door the first time.
Well, and that's what we're trying to do with our gym, is to kind of get rid of that. You know, we're still CrossFit, you know, and I love CrossFit. It's changed my life, and it probably saved my life, just because of the depression aspect of it, the good chemicals flowing in your brain, and plus kind of getting around a bunch of good dudes again, you know, like you guys all know what it's like to be in that team room, or in that, you know, sitting on a bunch of couches watching TV, or
Recliners.
Holding hands.
recliners, yeah. Or in
Recliners.
like the morning brief room, you know, you got the sergeant up there. So it's like, okay, these are all my brothers, you know, my brothers and sisters. And then when that's gone, you're like, you can't find that. And, you know, our wives and other buddies that aren't first responders or were never military will never understand that feeling. Mm-hmm. And I feel like being in the gym with the community that is around me at Frontline, because I couldn't have started the gym without these people. You know, like the motto we have on our door is a gym for the community, built by the community, is because I had so many people that were like, Tim, please build a gym. And I'm like, there's so many gyms around here. It's not, you know, that doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
But then the direction our other gym was going, my old gym, the direction it was going, it was just so far from where I felt like morally was right. And in my heart, I was no longer happy to go to the gym.
Yeah.
I was like, man, I gotta go to the gym. Like,
You are extremely passionate about the community, and I've noticed that the moment I met you, because is it weekly now, the Ruck to Rize?
every other week. So
Every other week.
Yeah.
So you're doing it's a free ruck.
Yep.
If you don't know what that is, you throw some weight in a backpack, or not. You don't have to.
Yep.
And they get together at a community park nearby, or it varies sometimes.
Yep.
And they just go walk.
Yeah, and Ruck to Rize was actually born out of the gym, you know, and it's kind of one of those things because, again, I think I've already messed up my whole thing in my head of what I was going to talk about, but Frontline is very first responder oriented. We give discounts to every first responder. I consider nurses and doctors first responders in the gym, you know, corrections, dispatch, you're all first responders, you know, so we give a heavy discount to first responders. We give a discount to teachers. My wife's a social worker, so that got thrown in there, you know, so if you're a social worker,
That's a hard job.
You get a discount. Yeah. And she works with children placing for adoption. So it's a very
hard job.
taxing and emotional job. So I'm like, okay, I'll get on this, you know, you're the wife. So, you know, I'll concede. And, but Ruck to Rize is a nonprofit that we started, but it was kind of born out of Frontline. And kind of the name, you know, the idea behind it is that, you know, our rucks and gear and equipment that you carry at work, it is just a burden, you know? And then when you're out, it kind of simulates the burden, or we used to use it as exercises to simulate an injury. You know, you throw an extra 50 pounds on you, I'm injured now. It's harder to move. It slows you down. Or, you know, in some exercises for recovery, or, you know, doing medical situations, we'd have a 200-pound dummy. You throw that on you and you're moving a lot slower. But the point behind it is that a weight shared is lighter. You know, it's easier to rise when you share the weight. So the point of the name behind Ruck to Rise is that we put the burdens on ourselves on purpose, you know, or you choose not to. You're carrying your kid, you're carrying a dog, whatever it is. Even if you're just out there walking with us, it's crazy, just like being in the gym when you're working hard, your heart rate's going, you got the good chemicals in the brain. You start opening up without realizing it, because you're just walking next to the dude or the girl next to you. You're walking down the trail and you're just talking, oh, hey, how's it going? How are you? We're all just checking in with each other. And you're not on the defense because you're kind of worried about breathing and you're worried about tripping over a rock or slipping on the mud. And now you're talking about what's going on in your life. And that is how we're unburdening ourselves a little bit from the first responders perspective, or just anybody that's suffering with depression or just anything going on in their life. If you're walking with a group of 30, 40 people and you're just smiling, you're out getting the sunshine. Sometimes it's cold. You know, you guys know how it is in this area, 70 degrees one day, 2 feet of snow the next day. But you're out there and people are genuinely talking to you. They're, you know, it's like being it's like the 80s.
It's a great way. So, I mean, we have clients that move here that want to get involved in the community.
Yeah.
And so if you're moving to the area and you want to meet people, I mean, that is a perfect opportunity. You're absolutely right, because even if you're an introvert, when you're walking down the trail with somebody, they're going to talk to you.
Yeah.
And it won't be bad. It'll be fine. Trust me.
Yeah.
Because you're right. You're breathing hard. You're focused on other things.
Yeah.
It's very easy to have a natural conversation.
Yeah.
Well,
you're looking around, you're taking pictures of our beautiful mountains, you know, in this area, and the rivers, and, you know, you're getting some selfies for Instagram. And then before you know it, you're talking about, you know, just some things going on. And then you're sharing that with somebody, and it's also networking. You know, remember when you guys came out with us on one of the rucks?
Yep.
And I had 2 vets that were with us, and they met
So John?
Yeah.
And I think Austin was there too.
Yeah, Austin was there, and I can't remember who else was there. But the vets that were with us thanked me for you guys showing up. They're like, yeah, I hooked up with those guys and I got their contact information. And I was like, oh, that's awesome.
That's the neat thing. Like, you know, like you were saying, a lot of people move up here and they want to have community, and you can't, sometimes it's intimidating just to walk into a place you don't know or anything else. And you know how reserved cops and firemen can be, especially in a new place, right? I mean, most people are moving up here and they're like, give me 5 acres, keep everybody away from me. I want somewhere I can shoot my guns. Like, I want to be self-sufficient, bunker. But the truth is that all those people came from a community of men and women that they trusted at some of the hardest times of their lives. So being able to link people up with you and with other people that actually give a shit about the community is like the most important thing that we've ever been able to do with anybody.
Yep.
Well, and to piggyback on what you're talking about, the guys that want the acres of land and their own gun range and everything like that, they're preparing for something, or they want to be ready. They're not going to be ready if they can't carry their stuff up the mountain.
John and I had this conversation with a buddy of ours, super prepper. I won't even say his name. He likes to be discreet, but something we had this conversation inspired him. He ended up losing like 30 pounds because he's like, yeah, I can have all the guns, all the ammo, be all trained up on all of that, but if I can't run to the top of that hill, I'm dead weight. I'm not helping.
You know, probably every single one of us has a bug out bag in our vehicle or in our home, you know, really close by. And you think about it, because I've had the same type of individuals come up and talk to us, you know, oh, I live way out in, you know, Rathdrum or whatever, or, you know, further up north, Spirit Lake. And they're like, yeah, I prep and I get ready and I shoot and I don't want to be around a bunch of people. And I'm like, okay, well, when was the last time you ran a mile? When was the last time you carried how much does your bug out bag weigh? How much does all your ammo weigh? You know?
It's funny you bring this up, not to go straight into prepping, but
Yeah.
I have this conversation with people all the time. They're like, oh yeah. And people will tell me I'm a prepper. And I'm like, okay. And this, I've asked people, okay, are you a prepper or are you a hoarder? Because I'm not going to live in a basement and eat pickles for 3 years.
Me neither.
So if that's what you mean by prepping, that you have a bunch of canned shit, look, man, 3 to 4 months. And then I tell people, I remind people this. And I'm not even saying I'm completely ready for whatever, right? I know that I've kind of ditched the bug out bag. I'll be completely honest. I look at all my shit at my house. I'm like, I can't take enough of this. This is my safest place to be, right? I'm defending this land. However, I joke around about it with people because people will want to hoard stuff. And I go, look, let me tell you a crazy story. 200 years ago, nay, 150 years ago, people lived in this land without electricity, without planes, without any of this shit. And you know what? They did just fine. And prior to that, thousands of years prior to that, people lived here too, and they did just fine without all the stuff you're talking about saving up. So if you're going to prep, learn how to integrate into the community, learn how to live off of the land, learn not how to go shoot an elk and then be like, I'm going to waste 500 pounds of meat right now. People have lived here for a long time. And if you're going to prep, you need to be able to live off of the land and in community with people that are going to have needs and figure out how you're going to contribute.
Right. But that's what's, great segue to the community. It's the community at the gym where you network.
Right.
You know what I mean? Or at Ruck to Rize even. You network. This person gardens. This person's an electrician. This person has tons of firearms. This person has a shooting range. You network for those guys and gals that want to be prepared and hide in their homes. But like you said, no matter what you're prepping for, whether you're going to sit there and eat, 10 boxes of MREs, or you're going to run your Suzuki Samurai up to the tallest point of some mountain and hold Overwatch over everybody.
We're going to need the electricians to find another thing to do.
Right, exactly.
They're going to have to find some other skills. So if you're an electrician out there, we're going to need something else.
Well, I mean, hey, hold on. Maybe they can be wiring generators.
Solar,
right?
Yeah.
There's options out
Solar.
there.
I don't know, dude. The big EMPs come in. I don't know.
That's true.
I don't know.
Yellowstone.
Yeah. I mean, it would suck. Like if that was your big skill and you're like, I'm an electrician, everything went out and you'd be like, God dang it.
Yeah, shit.
Yeah.
But you talk about the people a long time ago, they were tougher than we are now.
Oh boy, that is true.
You talk to like a World War II vet, which are becoming harder and harder to find, or even, back to Vietnam era, it's just like, oh, that's what you did?
Yeah.
That's pretty tough.
Well, that's like what you said. You said like, oh, when we go ruck, it can get pretty cold outside. That really shouldn't be a thing that we say.
Right.
Like what we're actually saying is it is cold outside, but I still have shit to do.
Right.
And if you want to be prepared, if you want to be physically fit and everything else, it's not a summer 80 degrees beautiful day fitness.
Yeah.
It's an all the time fitness.
It's like the guys that only go to the gun range in the summer.
Yes.
Like,
Oh yeah, my hands get cold.
Fingers.
Yeah. You should be able to do all of your reloads and all of your maintenance and everything
You
with
should force yourself
freezing
to do it in
hands.
the pouring rain too. 'Cause that's the best.
Well, that's what, like the tactical game stuff that I do, and the shoot that I was supposed to do on Saturday. It's cold outside.
Yeah.
And we did one last month, and your gun works differently. You oil your gun up, it sits in your truck or your house, but then you oil your gun up and it's 10 degrees outside. It does not move the same. The way that the slide moves, the way that all your mechanical stuff, the oil gets colder, gets more viscous, I think is the right word. So you got to train on all of that kind of stuff. And maybe you got to switch to a different type of oil. Just there's different things that happen to your gun. If your hands are cold, have you tried clearing a malfunction or a reload with gloves on? Totally different thing.
Oh yeah.
You're talking about your trigger. Is your trigger large enough to fit your winter gloves or whatever, your mechanics gloves? So it's just one of those things that people don't train. We are going to try to bring tactical training to the gym.
I was just going to ask if you were going to bring any survival type stuff. I mean, that's your background.
Yeah.
Is that worth it? I feel like people would dig that.
I think it would definitely have to be off site, but it could be something where we do a classroom environment at the gym. Mm-hmm. And then maybe it builds from there, and then we schedule something where we go out and do land navigation, survival stuff.
Psychological torture.
Maybe. That's extra credit. That'd be an extra charge. It's either going to be an extra charge or it's going to be free because I'm going to really enjoy it.
I need you to sign this waiver too.
Yeah. Oh, there'll be lots of waivers. But yeah, that's something that can happen. I'm trying to go through and figure out how to do tactical training in a complete safe setting. Like I've gone through the thoughts of like, okay, if we get the little laser projectiles and everybody brings their real firearm in, and I'm like, no.
It's a pain in the butt.
Do you know how many pockets and bags I'm gonna have to check? Because if someone brings one round in, like, get out. You know.
Yep.
I was like, I don't feel like dealing with that. But then I looked at all of these different kind of like laser tag kind of guns. I don't want people shooting each other in this gym environment with laser tag guns. I'm more of thinking, okay, I just crushed you for 20 minutes in a cardio session, and now I have targets set up that receive the laser signal. You don't get to go to the next round until you've cleared those targets.
That's cool.
Where you're sitting there, you draw out at your 160 beats per minute heart rate, which in a real world situation, maybe you guys know, is that, it's not the same as shooting paper at the gun range on an 80-degree day.
I did that at a CrossFit gym. It was like a really small gym owned by a sheriff's deputy back in California. And it was the coolest thing ever because you get your heart rate up.
Yeah.
And then you have to be very precise with your shot and utilize the fine motor skills. It was awesome.
You know what's cool? Coeur d'Alene PD actually did a really good job when I was with them. We had a very dynamic range, and I don't come from a background with guns. Like my dad had a 22, and he stuck the clip in the bottom of a sleeping bag and had that rolled up somewhere, and then had the gun underneath a pull out. I mean, it was like, what the hell? So I didn't grow up in a gun environment, so I really learned how to shoot just when I became a cop. And it was funny. I actually came out at the range, and I ended up getting top shooter out there, and they're like, man, and I'm like, I have no bad habits.
Yeah.
I'm shooting exactly the way you guys told me to do it. Like, I don't even know what I'm doing.
Yeah.
But I will say that range, they were so good at that. Like, there were days where, grab your rifle, and all of a sudden they're like, run down the hill. And you're like, well, it's wet and snowy, and it's, go. And you're down the hill, and then you're back up, and they're like, do it again. Down and back. They're like, all right, go. And next thing you know, and I mean, even shooting through cars. Yeah. It was amazing, the dynamics of that stuff. I remember they put a target out in the range, and they pulled up this car that it has a few bullet holes in it. I'll just be honest.
Just a couple.
And they'd be like, all right, shoot the target. And you're like, and they got the windows down, and you got to shoot through the windows. And it was psychologically, it jacked you up. Mm-hmm. And you're tired, and he's like, look, if you can see the target, and there's nothing in between you and the target, then what the hell does it matter? And you're like, okay, that makes sense.
That kind of training is super important. I ran the range at the office that I worked at, and we would bring in a car. Every year, we'd bring in a car from tow company. What we did is, because most of our stuff is traffic stops, right, as a trooper, we would hang water jugs where a person would be sitting in the car, and they were different colors. So you'd make your approach, and then the range officer would call out threat, whatever color. Yeah. And now you're having to engage through windows, through pillars, moving around the vehicle, returning to your car for cover, stuff like that. Yeah. That is absolutely awesome training. Wow. Yeah, it's really cool.
Well, and you went to the range. You and your son went out to the range with me once. Yep. And so I go out there to Fernan, and I get the strangest looks because I'm in my full kit, got my pew-pews out there, and I'm running a quarter-mile sprint up and down the road and back, or I'll bring like 100-pound sandbags, and I'm throwing them over my shoulder. One time I took my Echo bike, the exercise bike. I took it out there and set it up in the...
it's extreme.
Right, in the bay, and I'm getting my heart rate up, and I'm running, and I'm doing push-ups and burpees and whatnot. And I built all these strange barricades that they use at the tactical games, just trying to mimic what I see at the competitions. And I set them all up, and then, you get the old guys that are out there just picking up brass, and then the regular shooters that come out there, and they're just like, what are you doing, dude? What are you training for? And I'm like, for everything, and it's because from being a police officer, moving around in your kit is so much different.
Yeah.
You know, even if you're already fit, even if you're already proficient at shooting and you have all the stuff and you have all the things, how many times have you put it all on and done something?
Well, and that's the thing too, is like, you know, the likelihood of you putting on your kit and everything else, if you carry concealed, like you're not in that mindset.
Right.
And so getting yourself training in all those different scenarios is huge. When we used to go on calls here, I told you I would put on my headset. Some guys laughed at me because we had to go to a call and it was shots fired and I'm headed to it. And I had, if I had time, I would put on my headset that I use at the range, or electronic, right? You can hear all that stuff. See, it takes everything down.
Yeah.
And I had somebody one time, like, what are you doing? I'm like, look, I got my earpiece in. I can hear everything going on the radio. And I said, and truthfully, when I put this on, it takes me back to the range. It puts me in a mindset of remembering all of my motions and everything else. And I'm not dealing with the things that stress people out, like the loud noises. I can hear things.
Yeah.
I protect my ears. I'm like, and I wouldn't stop and be like, hold on real quick, walk back to my car and freaking put it on. But I would put myself, try to put myself into a range scenario that's comfortable, that makes me think of the things that I did, you know, from repetition.
I mean, that's why the SWAT guys wear them, right? When they're on calls.
100%.
Obviously, they have more time to set up usually.
Yeah.
Right.
But yeah, you're isolating all the really loud noises like gunfire.
Because I guarantee you put any one of us in a kit or back in uniform, give us a belt, my mindset immediately changes.
Our whole posture will change.
Yeah, 100%.
You know, and that's what I'm trying to figure out how to do it in the gym, because I know that I feel that would be very appealing in this area to have that type of training, you know, with the expense of like the laser system and things like that. Or even if I just bought rubber ducks or blue guns, if people just had their battle belt on, a vest on, and a blue gun, and we went through a normal CrossFit workout, but we had to draw, and you just simulated a dry fire. If someone's being honest and has integrity, they're going to look at their sight picture, you know, and it's doing this.
Yep.
And then, but that would be part of the lesson. Part of the dry fire lesson is like, okay, get your heart rate up. Now manage your you know, your how you're gripping the gun, your breathing, when you're going to exhale, when you're going to pause. Try to, you know, shoot at those opportune moments. But that's something I want to bring to the gym, you know, and
yeah, and then take it another step further, and like so in law enforcement, right? We would put on scenario training, you know, a couple times a year, and it would be okay. Heart rate's up. Now you have to fire a weapon. Now you have to utilize your brain, so you're getting on the radio and trying to talk. Where are you right now? What do you need? What, you know, all of these things, and then fine motor skills. Okay, now suspect's down. You need to go arrest them, and obviously civilians might not train like that, but there's other things you could do to work on, like getting their brain back into the
well, even having a
mode.
jiu-jitsu mat, you know how exhausting it is to roll with somebody, right? Like we did the Fight for Life. I'm sure you guys have been through similar things, but you know, even creating an environment where if you do have jiu-jitsu mats, if you have somebody that's trained like Seth, it's somebody that's been through it that understands you're not out there to beat them up, but to give them resistance. Like even having somebody say, okay, now
a good sparring partner.
Now you need to get control of this person on the ground. Just having somebody that's just resisting you when you're exhausted is like a challenge.
I would set them up with like some simple stuff. Like I'd get on top of them in a mount and like, okay,
get out,
roll me out. Yeah, roll me and get a dominant position, disengage, whatever. Like just little things like that, because those are tough for people. I don't know how many videos you've seen of like street fights or even sometimes cops where they're like on the ground on their back and someone's pummeling them, and it's very simple to get out of if you know.
Yeah.
So that would be cool, I think.
Yeah, and it's, you know, and I think that just strengthens if I'm able to figure that out, and I think that just strengthens our community.
Yeah.
Because then it's like-minded people connecting with each other, you know, when like, oh, something is going on or something's happening, you know who you're going to call, maybe whose house you're going to rally at, you know, who has the tallest house, tallest mountain, whatever, to be, you know, a good Overwatch. So, you know, it's all just, that's what the great thing about the gym and the Ruck to Rize is that it's all about the community. It truly is. Like, you know, and my wife and I are in a blessed situation where when we open this gym, we don't necessarily need the money from the gym to live, you know, because we both have other income. It's all the money goes right back to the gym and to the nonprofit. 10% of all the gym sales go right into Ruck to Rize, which
rad.
I don't think I mentioned yet that what we do with Ruck to Rize as the nonprofit, excuse me, So as we go through the Rucks and we do community events and we just basically get together as a group, as a community, we, again, like I was saying, you communicate, you find out about each other. Maybe there's somebody that's not there. Maybe there's somebody that needs help. Because not all veterans and first responders fill out their paperwork and get service connected or continue on with their medical care after they get out, or they're homeless. There's all of these things that could be wrong with anybody in our community. And it doesn't have to be just veterans and first responders. It can be anybody in our community. But we're just kind of focused on that just because that's what I know. And if there is somebody out there that needs help, that needs to go get mental health care, needs to go get physical care, can't afford to come to the gym, but they really want to, and it's part of their recovery from maybe some injuries or some disabilities. Because that's what, me being a disabled athlete, I also want to cater to people with disabilities. Wheelchair athletes, like we're looking into all the stuff to make a safe environment for people in wheelchairs. Amputees, I have equipment where, like I met a Marine a couple of weeks ago that was in a wheelchair, and he was paralyzed from chest down. He's like, I can't do anything in the gym. And I was like, that's not true. I was like, your arms could be so jacked.
Yeah.
Cool.
He could do like 1,000 pull-ups.
Exactly.
Let's go.
There's, and I showed him a couple of videos of a guy, he's a Purple Heart recipient, Army guy that's in a wheelchair, and he was trying to break a world record recently of like the most miles done in a wheelchair at one time. And the guy's jacked. He does pull-ups and pulls his wheelchair with him.
That's awesome.
That's crazy.
Yeah. And I'm just like, okay, so it's all of these stories and the people that you see that are just inspiring. You talked about the people that are overweight. We have women that are 30 weeks pregnant that are doing pull-ups and jump roping and doing all of these things that they're just, and I watch it, I'm like, okay, I have no complaints, good for you. That's great. And that's, it takes away a lot of excuses when you see the women that they come in pregnant and then, some guy or some other gal is like, oh, I can't, my back hurts. And it's like, no, yeah. Let me show you over here. Let me show you ways in this community that people will help you overcome whatever adversity it is that you're dealing with. So the money that we raise through Ruck to Rize, we're working with the City on the Hill.
Yeah, awesome.
So
they were just on the podcast recently. So
yeah, so if a member of the community needs to go talk to somebody and they can't afford it, we would step in and pay for their bill, and now they get the help at City on the Hill, and maybe they're coming into the gym, but then the ultimate goal is to kind of get them into the community at church. Like, hey, we're taking care of the short term, or let's take care of this acute injury. Let's figure out what's going on. Let's get you with some help. Let's get you into the community. Let's, insulate you.
Yeah.
And now, long term, let's get you into a bigger community that would care about you. Let's get you into the church, whatever church they want to go to, but let's just get them in there, because that, ultimately is going to heal them, in whatever's going on in their life. If they have Christ in their corner, they'll be much better off, so we're kind of trying to do that with our gym. We have Bible quotes up on the wall. So if that bothers anybody, sorry, not sorry.
Yeah.
Nope. So
that's freaking awesome.
As soon as you walk in, there's American flags. There's Isaiah 6:8 staring at you. It's just like we're a conservative Christian community. Majority up in this area. Where we live in North Idaho, and we're just really focusing on building that community even stronger at Frontline Fitness. And we're getting ready to work with Best Life Coffee as well.
Oh, so
Dude,
are we.
Yes,
So,
we got some coffee.
We have our own branded coffee.
We're getting
dude.
ready to do the same.
Dude, I love it.
And all the coffee sales, 100% of the coffee sales will go to Ruck to Rize to help us out with veterans and community members in need, to help them out.
Dude.
Mm-hmm.
So then that nonprofit Ruck to Rize is run out of the gym. So, people may struggle or be worried about coming to the gym, or like you said, kind of intimidated. We're trying the best we can to take that intimidation away. I'm 5'6", short guy, not super jacked human, and my other coach is 6'2", specimen of a human, and like, there's just a wide range of us, kind of all over the place.
Us too. We have a 5'6", Eric's 5'6".
Yeah.
And we've got a giant too. Yeah.
Yeah.
There you go. Oh,
See?
no. Are you talking about John or you?
Not me.
Yeah.
No.
I mean, Eric's 5'6". I have to say that a few times.
Right. You
Eric's
have
5'6".
you have to have the spectrum of people,
Yes.
and
We are definitely on the spectrum in this team.
right.
So,
Yeah.
Yes.
Sure.
Yeah, we got hit pretty
I
hard.
have the tism. I think I was born before they checking, but
It's a superpower, bro. It's
yeah,
okay.
but I think of all this stuff, and I'm like, no, that goes right there.
This is super neat, man. I'll tell you what, I get motivated like with anything. I'm all about the community and all that stuff. And I've done CrossFit for years. I probably haven't done it in about a year, probably.
So you'd be signing up today?
No, that's what I was going to tell you. I'll come down. I'll come down and get signed up for a month because I think like anything for me, and one of the reasons why I've jumped back and forth is because a lot of times I start to get into something and I start to get a little burned out with it and I move on. And, right now going to the gym, I'm kind of like, I guess starting to find that wear down. I definitely need a community and good stuff like that. So I'll give it a shot. I'll get down there. I think that'll be fun. And like I said, even jiu-jitsu, the community I found in jiu-jitsu, I love those guys. It's a great time.
It's amazing. And you're, thinking about like people that are, maybe have a disability or are super overweight. If them going into a normal gym, it is intimidating, one, but I don't think they're going to get a good start, right? Going into a community like that where they're going to get welcomed, they're not going to get judged. It's like, hey, come in, and then have that ability to have people kind of help you grow, like that you're going to get so much better results that way,
absolutely,
than just going into Planet Fitness or whatever.
And true story, this just happened on Sunday. We had a lady come into our gym. She heard about us through Instagram, and our Instagram is just Frontline CrossFit. She heard about us through there, saw us on there. We do a hero workout every single Sunday. And we have for even when I was at my other gym. I created the whole thing, started it, have not missed a single Sunday in over 2 years, no matter what. Doesn't matter if it's a holiday, we're open. Noon to 2. Every single Sunday. And what I mean by a hero workout is a fallen member of the community, fallen veteran, firefighter, police officer, anybody that has paid the ultimate sacrifice, for our freedoms in one way, shape, or form. We do a hero workout for them, and they're pretty grueling. They can be anywhere from 20 minutes of I'm about to go outside and throw up, or it's a 2-hour grind. Ooh. And those are rough. We did I think it was last summer, we did the Impossible Mile. Where
I already know where this is going. Let's hear it. What is it?
Oh, so the
What's keeping me from getting to the mile here?
Yeah, so the Impossible Mile is 400 meters of bear crawling.
Oh, dear Lord.
400 meters of burpee broad jumps.
Oh, my goodness.
400 meters of lunging, and then you do a normal 400 run. But bear crawling 400 meters on a track is pretty rough on the hands. We had people, even because we provided gloves as well. I just went to the hardware store and bought a big pack of gloves. And I'm like, here you go. And because like a high school track, that like roughed up surface.
Oh, yeah.
That's a whole lap around the track.
A whole
right?
lap.
Dude.
Yeah. And then a whole lap of burpees and then a whole lap of lunges. And then
all gnarly.
Yeah. And it on paper, you're like, doesn't seem that bad. It seems like, I can do that because like I can do burpees, I can do lunges, and I can do bear crawl. But when you throw in that it's 400 meters of it, it gets pretty rough. So we did that last summer, and
That's one you get done and you're like, I just did some tough shit.
Yeah.
Right. And
I'm stoked about it.
we had people that modified it, which is fine. Right in the middle of it, they were just like, I'm never going to finish this. But then we had a lady that stuck it out, an older lady stuck it out.
That was rad.
And it was, at the end of it, there was just a bunch of people cheering her on, and we were at like almost the 2-hour mark.
Man.
And she was going. But we do that, kind of got sidetracked like I always do. But the lady came in, and she's like, I've been looking for a community. She's a member at another gym currently. But she came into our gym, and she's like, this felt like home the moment I got here. And then at the end, kind of everybody talks, at the end, because it's not like a regular gym. You can talk, no one's wearing headphones and taking 30 trips to the water fountain. It's everyone sits around and talks and cools off and stretches and just talks about what they liked or didn't like about the workout. And this lady was like, my wife was there and a couple other ladies were there, and they were talking about their women's group, their women's Bible study. And this lady was like, I've been praying for a women's group. She's like, and I haven't been able to find one. And
That's awesome.
my wife was like, hey, we're meeting tomorrow. Come join us.
That's cool.
And I asked my wife after the fact, I'm not allowed to know what happens at the women's group, but she said, yeah, she said it seemed like she loved it. She said she can't wait for the next one. So I'm like, that's exactly what we're trying to do. You know, we also hold a men's group. We actually hold it at the gym. And it's, the intent behind it is like iron sharpens iron. So we are trying to be good husbands and fathers. And that's the stories, the specific stories in the Bible that we focus on. Last week, we just talked about humility. So the gym is very multifaceted. You know, we're running a nonprofit. We're running the Ruck to Rize out of there. We're trying to build a very strong Christian conservative community out of there. And, you know, we just want to build the best community we can have here in the Post Falls, Coeur d'Alene area. And that's what's more important to me than anything. I need to keep the lights on, but I'm not trying to get wealthy off of it.
I freaking love it, dude.
Just one of those things.
Where can people, so Instagram, do you guys have a website as well?
Yeah, we have a website. It's just frontlinecrossfit.com.
Okay.
Our Instagram is just the gym name, Frontline CrossFit. And then again, our location is 6020 East Commerce Loop in Post Falls.
I'll link all that in the show notes. Ruck to Rize, does that have its own site?
It does not. No, I'm
So how
a
do
little
people
behind
find
on
out
that.
where you guys are going to go?
Ruck to Rize is the Instagram handle.
Okay.
We do our announcements there of when and where we're going to meet, and anything that we're going on. We did a big food drive for New Beginnings.
Yep.
We had, instead of people carrying weight in their ruck or carrying a weighted vest, we gathered within a 2-hour time period of rucking. We gathered over 500 pounds of food for New Beginnings for their food bank. We had people load up canned goods and everything. And you know Kyle,
Yes.
from the Ruck rack.
Yep.
He donated one of the Ruck racks to whoever carried the most weight
Nice.
for the entire Ruck.
That's cool.
We will be getting Kyle on the podcast soon, so
Perfect.
He's a cool dude.
Yeah.
Okay, and then you guys do the hero workout every Sunday?
Every Sunday from noon to 2.
I'm going to come join you on some of those. too.
Yeah,
I'll
it's
bring my son.
Yep. I don't announce what they are and I don't publish what they are because
it.
people will cherry pick.
Oh yeah.
I used to put it out like, hey, we're going to do this workout, and it'd be crickets, you know. And then I'm like, all right, never again. I just tell people, bring your gym bag.
Show up at 12.
I got you one to think of real quick.
Okay.
When you said Impossible Mile, it reminded me of a workout that I've only been able to complete one time.
Sure.
So it's every minute on the minute.
Uh-huh.
You do 10 burpees.
Okay.
Okay?
Yeah.
And you run a mile. But the
Oh.
only time you can run the mile is when you're not doing burpees. But at every minute,
You have to stop.
you have to
Oh
stop
my
and start
dear
10 more
Lord.
burpees. The problem
Yeah.
is
You got like 20 seconds left?
you get to the point where 10 burpees damn near takes you a minute.
Yeah.
And you can get in a position where all you do is burpees.
Can you
Yeah.
not give him an idea?
I'm just telling you.
Yeah.
It's
for next week. That'll
it
just be
is it is not a fun. I mean, it's like it's
Terrible.
rough. It's rough, and the more you run, the more tired you are, and then you're trying to do and you're like, holy
That
crap,
is a freaking grind.
Yeah.
tough one.
No, the purpose behind, you know, the Hero Sundays is to just bring awareness to the people that have sacrificed.
Yeah.
You know,
Well,
for
that's awesome.
for everything we have. And then it also brings a little bit of clarity and humility to all of us, you know, that because I'll usually do research or find an article or a story about the individual, and, you know, and if they're in Afghanistan, you know, or a police, you know, officer involved shooting or something like that, you know, or a firefighter lost their life going into a building, you know, we'll talk about it. And then people are like, oh my God, I got to do 50 burpees. I was like, yes, you get to do 50 burpees today, and you get to go home to your family.
Yeah.
This guy died before his parents, you know, and I'll usually try to put like who they were survived by, you know, and some of them, it's just sad. You see that their parents are still alive. Their grandparents are still alive.
Right.
They're leaving behind children and a widow. And, you know, the kid was an Army private at, you know, 22 years old. And it's like, man, that guy's old enough to be my son.
That's
You know,
nuts.
so it's just kind of a nice reality check when people are like, oh, it's cold outside, or oh, it's going to be a terrible workout. And I'm like, yeah, we get to do this.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to be right there with you. It's terrible. You know, it's tough. It's hard to breathe. It's tough to move by the end.
But we'll do it together.
But we write out the workout on a whiteboard, and I usually just tell them, I'm like, when you're struggling or you're holding on to your knees and trying to breathe, I'm like, just read that bottom line on the whiteboard.
Yeah.
You know, who we're trying to honor today. And you usually see people kind of shake their head, be like, all right, I gotta get back in there. You know, and it's just a nice thing. And then it's something super small that we try to do for just to truly, you know, never forget.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know,
Well,
awesome.
Tim, you're an asset to this community. I'm really thankful. That we
you got
met.
a great heart, man.
Yeah, absolutely, dude. I am looking forward to coming in next week to do the workout.
I can't wait either.
Oh, God.
I'm gonna get a head start.
Yeah.
You guys
You know what? I'm
you
gonna
guys might want to start
I'm gonna
stretching now.
stretch tonight just to get ready for next week. Okay.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. We'll link everything in the show notes so people can find you. And yeah, if you guys are out there and you need community, which we all do, definitely reach out to Tim, get set up there, and he'll get you going. Yeah, I appreciate it. Thank you, Tim.
Yeah,
Cool.
thank you.
Thank you, brother.
Thank you guys. I
Later.
always appreciate it.
Yeah.